sorry, I left something downstairs, so I've been running up and down 3 flights of stairs to get the thing I left downstairs. I hope you're all well and happy and that life is good and all the rest of it, and looking forward to seeing you all here today. We'll start in just a moment. It's going to be a slightly sooner moment than usual because I was a bit late, for which I can only apologise. So we're going to do something completely different again today. I'm going to be running out of ideas soon. I think we're up to, I can't remember what number we're up to now. If anyone knows, tell me, but I think it's about 43, 44, something like that. Anyway, right. So for anyone who doesn't know, I also do full-on art lessons, 3-hour progress, 10-year-old girl, not copying, 3 hours on perspective. Even architects couldn't believe what they learnt, 3 hours on paint and colour. 5-lesson progress, 90-year-old stroke victim, 4-lesson progress, 50-year-old German lady, 3-lesson progress, 40-year-old Sri Lankan man. Works with anybody, nothing to do with what you perceive as your skill set. It's to do with actually learning the core fundamentals. And as far as I'm aware, I'm the only person teaching it quite this way, so there you go. Right, well, I think we'll start. The dreaded spotty mug will come into play. Now, what we're going to do today is we're going to do silhouettes, which is, hello Vanessa, hello Michael, hello Emily, hello Pamela. Oh, and other people, Anita, you're all popping up now, there you go. So we're going to do silhouettes today. I just pulled this one off Pinterest or something, so if you have a look around for yourselves, you'll be able to see it. But they were really popular back in the 18th century, was to cut the face out. So we cut like flowers out and that the other day. This is something obviously far more elaborate, and we're not going to be this busy with it all today. But years ago, I took my children to Disney World over in Florida. And when we were there, we sat down, and the tradition was that the person literally sat with a piece of black paper, black card usually, and a pair of scissors, and they just literally look at you and cut. Now, that takes a lot of learning and a lot of years of practice, because drawing a portrait, as many of you know, is quite difficult anyway, and to just be able to cut one out perfectly takes real skill. I have to say this lady at Disney World did a really good job, and I was absolutely fascinated watching her. I'd be surprised, you know, if any of you could do that straight up today, but if you can, fantastic. So I'm just going to cut this down a bit smaller just so I can cut quicker, but obviously you can choose your own sizes. And today I have got my big scissors, but I picked up some smaller craft scissors, and I also picked up a little pair of nail scissors. So the first one that I'm going to do, and the beauty of these is to then stick them in your window, and they look quite good. Or you could always stick tissue paper behind them or something, or then again you could stick them onto a greetings card as a gift again. But I'm just going to do one for fun, and I'm going to make this like either it's going to be a witch or a gnome or something really ugly, because then if by any chance I do something really badly, which is quite likely, then it will be alright. Now this is meant to be the back of the witch's neck, and then I'm cutting some little bits of hair. And remember, I'm always saying about cutting from the outside makes it easier, and then pull bits away. And obviously I could have cut more finely, and if you wanted to cut really finely, you could potentially do it on a cutting board with a proper Stanley knife or something. But I'm just doing this really quickly for a bit of fun. So your first one, definitely do something ugly, like, you know, a gnome, a witch or something or other, because that way then if you do any bad marks that you don't particularly like, it's a way to actually learn as you go. So I'm just cutting in the hair. Now her head here at the back is going to come back a bit. Now this one I'm doing completely free, just for a bit of fun. And I'm going to show you some different ways you could do this. So this is the hair at the back. I've brought the back of the head back a bit. I haven't done it in a straight line because your head at the back sticks out and then goes into your neck. So this is a profile. You usually do silhouettes as a profile because it works better. So this one's going to be a bit of a punk witch, I think. And she's got, I'm going to change the direction of her hair now as I go up. And if I hold this for a minute in front of the white, you'll be able to see it even more clearly. So you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just cutting up the back of her head. And I'm doing the whole of this one by imagination, but the whole way around I'm cutting in over and over again. Doing that with your hand gets all very awkward, much easier to cut in and in and in. So it's a good thing to teach children as well. Cut in, don't cut out. Although you get told to cut things out, don't you? That's quite strange actually. I've never thought of that before. Right, there you go. So I'm quickly cutting along now the top of her head, giving her some punky hair. And in a minute I'll be coming down like over a fringe or something. So I'm still cutting out bits of hair and just pulling them away if I haven't cut far enough. And this one's going to be really simple and not overly attractive. So there she goes. She's now, woo, dropping it, dropsy. There you go. So you can see she's coming. And I'm going to keep going now with the fringy bit here. So this bit's going to be a bit of kind of almost fringe hanging over her face. And then I'm going to cut right in and go into this bit by your forehead and eyes. So I'm going in for an eye. And then I'm coming out for a nose, and because she's going to be a witch, she's going to have a very big ugly nose, because that's what I'm going to do. So we've got the side of her face coming, and I'm going to cut in again, like I keep saying. Always cut in, don't cut out, because it's hard. I'm going up and under a hook nose. I'm now coming up this way for a minute, and I'm going to go up under a chin. And I'm cutting in again to my chin. And because she's going to be a good old-fashioned kind of witch here, I'm going to give her a wart. And forgive me for going into stereotypes here, but I'm just trying to do something you can do easily. So it's something like that. There's a wart on her chin. And then I'm going to come in for the chin here. And then do a little bit for her mouth, just under her nose. Now if I put this against white paper, you can see that we've got a whole face now. Now that's pretty cool, but we can make it better. So what I'm going to do now, if I cut against the white paper, you'll see, this looks like I'm sticking the scissors up her nose. I'm going to cut in just under her nose a bit there, and I'm going to cut around that round bit. Now I love this word because I don't know what it is in English for it. Now I'm also going to now cut just a little sliver out there around her nose. But in German, this bit here on your nose is called your Nasvingen. So it's called your nose wing, and I think that's a pretty cool name for it. So look, now I've given her, you see, a little bit of a gap there, so you can almost see where the line of her nose wing is now if I stuck it down. I'm going to do the same for her mouth, so I'm just going to open her mouth a bit by putting a bit of a slit in for her mouth and then cutting a little fraction out. Right, so now she's got a little bit open for her mouth, and if I wanted to be really silly, I could actually cut her out a broken tooth here at the front to make her even more attractive. Don't worry, the next one we're going to do is going to be, ooh, I think I've lost a bit too much. Oh no, there it goes. It's going to be more attractive, but we're just doing an ugly one first because it's easy to do ugly as a practice run. Right, there you go. So she's now got a kind of broken tooth hanging down. If I hold this up against the white again, you'll see better what I'm doing. So I'm cutting little bits out now. I'm going to cut her eye in here now. Now we've done this before. I'm going to fold it, and by folding it where her eye will be, I can then cut myself a tiny little hole there. I want to leave a black circle in the middle of her eye, so I'm cutting around a little kind of circle shape in the middle of her eye. And then I'm going to cut out and cut the extra bit out. Now when I open up, you can see she's got a little bit of an eye there. And I did that just by folding it in half, cutting the centre bit loose, like that. There's the centre bit, and then I cut little triangle out. When you open it up, Now I want her to have a glint in her eye, so I've got to shut it again and just cut a tiny little white hole in the middle of that black bit in the middle of her eyes. So that's her pupil, and then it's like the glint in her eye I'm just cutting out now. Ooh. There we go. So now look, she's got a tiny little glint in her eye. And if I put that up against the white again, you'll be able to see better. She's an attractive lady. There we are. I'm going to cut her chin line in now. So I'm just cutting along here and up round her jaw. And then I'm just going to cut a sliver off here, and that means then there's a tiny, it's almost like I'm drawing white lines by cutting little bits of black away. So she's now got a jawline, you can see. She's got, her eye's not really showing, there you go, you can see it better now. I'm going to cut some spiky hair in reverse. So again, I'm going to just turn it, fold it in half again for a minute, snip in just so I can get my scissors in, and then I'm just going to stand up so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to chip out a couple of little slivers of white here, and it's going to be like little bits of hair then, and all I'm doing is cutting out wherever I want a white line. You can see she's got a little bit of hair poking down now as well. You don't want to have huge long cuts, so I'm going to actually fold it again and cut in again for the next spiky bit down, and then just cut a tiny bit of the black away, just enough to leave a tiny white line. I tell you what, my hair needs cutting desperately at the moment because of all this coronavirus thing, but I think this poor lady here is well overdue for a decent haircut. And you can see how I'm cutting like spiky bits of hair coming down, or it could have just been single lines that I cut in by cutting a little bit out and doing little spiky bits in her hair. So you can sort of see bits happening in her hair. I'm going to do another one up here, so I'm just folding it in half and then cutting a little sliver out. And the whole thing, when I teach people, I'm always saying don't go symmetrical. The minute you go symmetrical, it gets boring. So try and be a bit asymmetric with your art, because life and nature tend to be asymmetric more than symmetrical. There you go. She's got the most amazing hairdo I've ever seen. I think I'd be wanting my money back if I'd been to her hairdressers. And you can start to see her, if I press her down on the paper now, you can see her eye, her hair, her chin, and all of that. I'm going to cut her an ear. So again, I'm going to fold it in half. Now I don't want to cut anything off, so make sure you don't cut into a line that you've already cut. And this time I'm going to cut almost like a C out. C for cat. And then I'm just going to cut a sliver out of that so that it will come around and it will then appear to be her ear with any luck. And you can make this a pirate or something, I suppose. Right, there she's got an ear now as well. So here is number one. Oh, I've got it on the wrong side of this, right. A very attractive witch with no hat. And you can see here her eye, everything. If I glued her down, you'd see her more clearly, and I could cut obviously numerous more lines into her. What you can also do, and I don't think I've got anything handy here at the moment, but you could lay this, if you can imagine, onto tissue paper, and then these would come through as different colours, which could be really good. I'll have a look in a minute and see if I've got some tissue paper. Let me just poke in this box here for a second and just see. I can't say, oh, I thought of it before the lesson. So, let's see. No, not tissue paper, but look, for example, I've got gold paper here. And again, if you laid her or stuck her onto gold or something, you'd be seeing through to the lights beyond. And so you could do it on tissue paper, stick it to the window. Now, if I turn you to my light box and just stick her up against the light box, you can get the impression of what would happen if you stuck them up against a window. So you could do, again, you could do your whole family or something. So there's idea number one, based on this historic thing that people used to do freehand. And now you can appreciate just how difficult it was to cut some of these very fiddly little bits, because all of that was cut out with one pair of scissors. So here's my one, not quite as beautiful as that one, but you can get the idea of it. And I'll just pop it up again against something so you can see more clearly what I've been doing. There you go. That's number one. So what you can do though is that you could do something that was far more accurate. Now, say for example you had a photograph of a family member and you wanted to do that one. So let's just say this gorgeous lady here from the magazine that I just found is your family member. Traditionally, you used to only do like head and shoulders. Of course, if you wanted to do a whole figure silhouette, you could do that, but I'm just going for traditional for the minute. So I'm just going to rip off the top bit of that. You could just find a profile picture from a magazine like this one. This was just in a magazine that I was thumbing through. Now, I want to put her on very accurately. I could try and draw it freehand first and things, but if you want a quicker way of doing it, that's the front that we're going to use. This is the back. I'm going to rub chalk all over the back. So I've just laid it on the table and I'm rubbing a thin chalk layer. Now in fact, lo and behold, my chalk doesn't want to adhere to that magazine because it's so shiny. So what I'm going to do now is just take a normal piece of A4 and I'm going to rub that with chalk. And chalk's quite good because it will blow off afterwards and you can just get rid of it easily. Whereas if you use something more than chalk, it might be hard. So I'm just chalking with the side of the chalk, not the end. So I'm using it like that. I'm just chalking a piece of paper like this. And I've just chalked the back of it. Now you won't be able to see because it's still white. I'm now going to put the chalky side is towards me. The lady is on top of that. So we've got the lady face forward, paper face forward, chalk on the back around there. And I'm going to hold it up here so you can see what I'm doing next. We're now going to put a piece of black paper at the back touching the chalky bit, like that. So I've got 3 layers. Picture, white paper with chalk, black paper. I'm then going to grab my pencil and I'm going to hold it up against the board here, and I'm now very carefully, keeping her still, going to outline the main bits of this picture. Now you don't want to go totally mad because you can't cut everything out, you can only indicate at things. So I'm giving myself her hair there, her neck. I'm coming in round over her lip, around her chin, under her chin, down to her blouse and across, and then over. I'm just going to do it, that shoulder, I don't know what that bit there is, I'm going to leave it out. When you leave something like that out, it's called artistic license. It's going to ruin my picture, and I've just extended her head up a bit so it fits onto my paper better. I'm going to come down her forehead, over her eyebrow, and I'm going to go down her nose and round, and maybe put a little mark where her nostril is, over her lip, into her tooth, and then out over her lip again. And I'm going to put a little bit of a line where her glasses are, because I think I'm going to try and cut those into it to make it interesting. She's got her eye there. Got this bit of collar coming around here, which might be a bit tricky, but we'll give it a go. And a button there. And then I've got the other side of the jacket there. So I've just drawn round her in pencil. Now if I take her away, and now I take that away, we've got a chalk line on there that I can then use to be what I cut out. Now in my case it doesn't matter if she's forward or backwards because nobody knows her, but if it's a family member you'd have to cut it out the right way round or else everyone will know it's wrong. So I'm going to try and cut this out so you can watch me doing it. So I might have to stand up again so you can see. And I'm just going to cut round. And where there was that kind of ledge on her hat, I'm going to emphasise that because it's those little things that make these things work. You don't want to cut something straight if it notched in a bit. And just there it notched in again. And then we're going to notch out here just a little bit for her glasses, but I'm going to cut in from the outside like I've said before. Cut that bit out, down to her nose there, and down and round her nose very gently, because she's got a very beautiful face, so I don't want big hooky noses or anything on this one. And then round her lip, and I'm in her mouth, so I've now got to come back and come from the other direction. So where am I? There. Sorry if I go out of focus, I'm sorry. Now off screen. Right, cut that out. I'm now going to cut round her lower lip and round her chin. And then back round over her shoulder. Now that time I turned the corner, which was very naughty of me, and I'm sure somebody spotted I did that. And then I'm going to come down the other side. So I'm cutting round her headscarf again. I've notched in for the scarf, so you know the scarf starts. I'm notching in up to the back of her neck there. Now I'm coming in from outside again, like I said to begin with, when I'm doing it right. And already she looks pretty cool. Now if you turn it round, you'd already recognise that it was a person. Now what I can do is, using these lines, I can cut little slivers in. So for that bit of her scarf, I'm going to cut a little sliver. I don't want to go all the way because everything's going to start falling apart. I just want you to know that that was the edge of her hat. And here, I want to put these glasses in. So I'm just going to fold that very carefully like we've done before, so I can just snip into that glasses line, and I'm lining it up carefully, and I'm just going to cut a tiny little sliver out there, and we'll get the bar of her glasses going across her face. So I'm just cutting that out now. And this is why nail scissors or something might be better. That's a little bar of her glasses. And while I'm there, I'm actually going to cut over the top of that side of her glasses, but I'm not going to make sure it won't cut it away. I don't want to suddenly have it all fall apart on me, so I'm not going to cut all the way across. I'm just kind of hinting at things. Now, those of you who have done the professional lessons with me know that that's a big part of art. If you overstate things, it's not as good as if you hint at them. So that's like the top of her glasses I'm doing there. I want to do a little bit of this bottom bit of her glasses there. But again, if I did the whole thing, it's all going to drop out. So I'm just going to fold it a fraction and just give you a little hint that something's going on. And with any luck, your imagination will turn it then into a pair of glasses. And I can't say trying to do glasses on one of these is the best idea, but it was the first profile one that I found. I'm just cutting around the bottom of the curve, but what you do is you don't want to cut these bits out. You want everything still attached. So I've just cut around the bottom bit of her glasses a bit. I'm going to cut her nostril out, and I'm going to do that by giving it a little fold again, just where her nostril is, and just cut the tiniest little hole out there, just so that you know that was her nose. I don't think I ever cut it quite big enough. I need to go a little bit bigger than that. I don't know if any of you saw me, but I was painting live yesterday on my other page, which is Art at the Beach. So I was going to do some more of that today, but I'm teaching again after this, so I think I probably won't have time today, but I'll do it again before the end of the week. And her collar came in. See, she's got a bit of collar just down there that's snipping in as well. And you can basically just give little hints of these different lines, but you have to cut. It's just like a thread of black paper out. You don't want to cut too much. And I'm just going to cut a little thread of paper there. And I'm going to cut this one up the back of her neck as well, just so that you know that's where the back of her neck was. And I'm using the white lines to help me. You're seeing it the wrong way round. But can you see, I'm deliberately holding it to you backwards, that you can start seeing her now quite clearly. and I'm giving you enough clues here, like with the glasses, just so you know something's going on, but I haven't cut them completely out. And here I need to show you where the side of the neck is there. That's not really showing very well at the moment, so I might cut a little bit more out of that. And then you'll know that's the side of her neck, because at the moment it looks like her neck's at a funny angle. So now you can sort of see the back of her neck and scarf going on there. And I could cut some other little lines in all round and about and make it clearer and clearer and clearer. I'm going to cut a little thread of the white here, just so that you know that was the top of the headscarf, but what I don't want is the whole bit falling off. So don't feel you've got to cut the whole way across. That's counterproductive. You're just hinting at things. So now I've cut a little bit of it at the front for the headscarf, and you can sort of see the headscarf appearing. And up here I need to cut a little bit in as well. Now, Vanessa, in answer to your question, I'm already fully booked tomorrow. Have you got, is there another day we could do it? Or another time we could do it? And if any of you want lessons, just give me a shout. I'm happy to do shorter lessons. I usually do 3 hours, but I'm doing half-hour clinics and things now as well. So now you can start seeing where the headscarf is there as well. And you can see the whole thing starting to materialise. Now, having it black on white is really quite effective. And you could stick bits of tissue paper in. Sorry, I'm just going to turn you towards the whiteboard so you can see it. And that would be what happens if you put it up against a window at the moment. Hello. And let me get rid of that. I nearly switched you off just then. I don't think I did though. That's good. So you can see how that comes. Now that was by actually using a real photograph. So if you could get a photograph of family members together, and if you don't think you can do it freehand, as I said, put chalk on the back of a piece of paper or white pastel, but chalk's better, because the beauty of chalk, as you can see here, is when you're finished, you can basically just give it a rub and it will be gone. So you've got all the lines to help you, but at the end of the day it won't show. And you could put them together like that. Now, those are what I thought we could do today, but just, you could make that into a dragon. You don't have to do a face. It could be trees. It could be anything. So an obvious one, if it was nearer Christmas or something, would be to fold it in half and then get yourself into thirds here. So you've got 6 equal sections. So I'm doing that till I've got 6 equal sections, and then you could do the good old-fashioned snowflake, but in black or white or whatever colours you've got. So basically all of this is about using cutting skills to get amazing results that you can't really get other ways. So if this was going to be my kind of snowflake thing, then I could do something along these lines. And I mean, this is going to not be a very elaborate snowflake, but you get the idea that you can build it up. That should have been separate. I haven't cut through far enough. And then I could have cut all the patterns into each part of it. Those could have tissue paper behind them. If you like, and you're kind of more religious or something, then you could always do the old-fashioned stained glass window and kind of mark out the sections of the window, cutting them out. You could draw it again in chalk or lightly in pencil or something first. The only thing is, if you draw in pencil, it tends to show when you're finished. And I'm doing just a very basic window to show you, but you could do a very elaborate one using a knife and things, and you can see how you could build up a window and put then different pieces of tissue into it. We've done houses before. You could even do a silhouette of your own house and then cut the windows out and put light behind it or something. That would be really effective. That works really well if you put baking paper there, because then it kind of gives that slight diffused effect to the light going through it. And last but not least with these, you could always do something like folding it in half like this, and then you could cut out butterfly, which we did earlier in all these sessions. And if I cut out a butterfly, again, you could cut sections out on its wings and fill those in by sticking little bright bits of tissue paper, or sweet wrappers work quite well. And then you could stick it up by a window again, or you could make it into a greetings card by putting it on a blank card. So there's the beginning of my butterfly. I'm going to cut into the two wings like this. And then I can fold the wings through both layers like that in different angles and cut sections out, but just make sure you're not cutting things away by inadvertently cutting off too much. As they say, less is more, so cut little bits, and then if you need to, make it bigger. If you cut it too big and it all falls apart, you've got a problem. So that one's now got some holes in it, and I could fold it up here and put another little hole up in it here, and then again I could fit tissue paper behind it, and I could do the same with the other wing. And then you can see that's a very peculiar looking butterfly. Oh, that's because it's upside down. My mistake. Right, and you could see you could get something like that, and you could even make it then 3D and hang again like we've done before. But basically the original idea is that, which used to be cut freehand with black card and scissors. It was a really, really specialist skill. My freehand one came out seriously ugly, but there she goes. And then I cut little bits of light in for her eyes and her hair and things. And you could stick her on tissue paper by a window, or just black on a window. And you could make her a friend looking the other way. You could do your own family. You could just make these up. You can do a whole figure as a silhouette, which is rather lovely as well. So you could trace one off. For the girl one, which I've now, oh, here she is. The girl one, I used photograph to help me. And then I put some chalk on one side of a piece of white paper and kind of made a sandwich, and then pressed through and made the marks on the chalk onto the black paper, and then started cutting her out. And again, she would look great against a window or with a light behind her on baking paper. You could do it around a lampshade, I suppose, but I'm not quite sure about the fire risk of that, so please find out about that. Don't trust me on that one. You could do like snowflakes, but with all the holes cut out. You could do stained glass windows. You could do windows on a house that was in silhouette. And here was my butterfly. You could do flowers. So really the sky's the limit, but the tradition was this. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it. Lovely to see you. Sorry I nearly turned you off and that I was a bit late. I'm having a bit of a moment today, I think. But anyway, there we go. As I said, if I had a blooper show, I think I'd be doing quite well with it. And so Cassie, good morning, and Vanessa, yeah, give me a ring in a minute and we'll sort out a time for a lesson. And yeah, love to see you all. Please show me what you get up to, but don't be frightened to trace a photo of someone you love to get it really accurate, because I don't think there's any problem with doing that to begin with. Also, if you are going to do a lot of art, it's quite good to just get used to seeing how the shapes form, because our perception of what a face looks like compared to what it actually does when you trace from a photograph is often very different. So it helps you learn what you're really seeing. And a few of you, again, who've worked with me know that that's one of my big things. So anyway, there you go. I will see you soon. I will be back on Thursday. And then from the weekend, I'm going to change it a little bit again, because a few things have changed with the lockdown, and also a few things have changed for me. So I'll tell you about that then, but I will see you on Thursday. Take care, have a lovely day. And thank you for the compliments that are coming up. Lovely to see you all again. And please send me photos of your work, past, present, whatever, anything, even things you're doing that are nothing to do with me. I love seeing it. Take care, and if you watch again the day after tomorrow, you'll see me painting live again then on the Morgan Porth painting that I'm doing at the moment. And if anyone's interested, yeah, it will be for sale. Bye.